to our sponsor, Food to Eat. That's the name of the company. Where are you guys? I'm not sure if they're still here, but they sponsor the food, woman-owned company. So definitely check them out, foodtoeat.com. And then the desserts were Asada Bakes. I started Her Agenda to empower women. It's a digital media platform working to bridge the gap between ambition and achievement for millennial women. We do that by simply giving visibility to women who are in positions of power, women who are successful, women who should be our role models that we should be looking up to. And then also, we don't want to just inspire our reader and then leave them hanging, right? We want them to be able to see the possibilities, but also get access to resources. So we have a database of panels and conferences and things that you need to essentially be in the room, because you can't be in the room if you don't know that it exists, right? So we have a database of that information. And we also just started to curate a community where we have a community of ambitious millennial women empowering and helping each other along the way, answering questions, sharing resources, giving referrals to each other. And that's a subscription-based community. If you want to get in, just talk to me after. I'm happy to plug you in. So for those of you who don't know, Luvvie is a writer, digital strategist, speaker, and now author. Yes. She created a career that essentially lives at the intersection of comedy, activism, and tech. So all of these realms come together through her various platforms, including Awesomely Luvvie, Awesomely Techie, and her nonprofit, the Red Pump Project. And so all of that seems like, okay, how do you make that work? How do you make that all come together? It's like comedy, tech, and also philanthropy and activism. So I just want to know from you guys, how many of you just feel you have like ideas in your head and you're not really sure how to manifest them, or you feel like you try to talk about them to people and they're like, wait, that doesn't make any sense. So that's what we really want to dig into. Like, what is the day-to-day of your life look like? You've been blogging for 13 years now. And for the first time now, you have something that people can take home with them, hold in their hand. So first off, how does that feel?
Okay, so it feels surreal. It feels like, I don't know, I was telling people I feel like I'm watching somebody else's life unfold, because this book has been a long time coming. And after I got the idea for the book and decided to start writing it, it just always feels like a long way away. September 13, 2016 felt like a long way away when my publishers told me our pub date. I was like, man, that's forever ago. So, and then it's here, and I'm like, oh man, that was super quick. My day-to-day life. I've been asked this question, what my life looks like every day. It looks different every single day. Every single day it looks completely different. So, if I'm home and I'm not traveling, I get up around 9 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, I can wake up at 9. Some people be like, oh, I meditate, I pray. I don't. The first thing I do is pull my phone. I'm like, what's going on Instagram? Which is so bad. But then I'm always excited to see what's waiting for me in my inbox, because who knows what it is that day. And then for the first hour, I'm checking email, replying to some. So the way I do email to make sure I am addressing what I need to address is, if I open it and I realize that I can't reply right then and there, but it's important, I mark it as unread, so it never leaves. So my inbox is actually organized unread first. So what I see is stuff I need to address, and I kind of triage it and see what's important, what's urgent. Like recently, I go straight to see like emails from my publicist, Allison, who's here. Hey, girl. So like, because planning the tour is like urgent media request stuff. So typically I'll do that, and then I'll loiter on Facebook for too long, and I trick myself into thinking I'm doing some work. And I'm like, yeah, I'm doing work. I'm researching. Knowing doggone well, all I'm doing is just minding other people's business on Facebook. And then I do phone calls. So I'm very disciplined about my phone calls in terms of, if anybody calls me randomly, cold calls me in the middle of the day, unless you were my best friend, I am not picking up the phone. Unless you're my best friend, my mama, I'm not picking up the phone, because I have to schedule my calls, because there are days when, if I'm sitting at home, odds are I have 7 phone calls in a row, where I'm like knocking out conference calls, press stuff, where I'm talking to my assistant. So I do a bunch of phone calls, and then I write somewhere in between there.
I know what I was going to say. Like,
somewhere in between there I write. It depends on what piece, because sometimes I churn out a piece in 30 minutes. Other times I'm sitting there like, oh, I'm going to write a piece, don't get it done for 2 hours just because I got distracted because of Facebook and Twitter. So on those days, I usually work until from 9 to 8. And in there, I eat somewhere. Recently, I've been going to the gym because I've been terrible about working out forever. Last time I worked out was in high school, 17 years ago. So I just started doing the working out thing. So I would take a 2-hour thing. I'll go to my personal training session, come back home, eat. And then around about 9, I start kind of just dialing, as a PM, I start dialing down for more shenanigans. I watch Netflix, whatever else. So now that's a day that I'm actually stable in Chicago and can do some work. Those are the days where I do work. So when I'm traveling, I always have early morning flights because I don't like to stay anywhere longer than I need to. So if I needed to be at an event, unless the event is at 8 a.m., I always tell them to book my flight for early. So I get in that day, start my day, start running off the bat. So I'm the person who has a 7 a.m. flight. And I'm going to sleep on my flight because of it. Because I usually don't even get to bed till 2. And if I'm packing, I probably don't pack until I'm about to leave. Which is also terrible. But I have my little routine of packing. I've learned how to pack in a carry-on. Unless I am leaving for more than a week, 7 days, I can actually fit everything in a carry-on, including 5 pairs of shoes. The keys, let me give you the keys here. Packing cubes. Life. And they're not the ones where you have to suck out air out of it. No, they're cubes that you buy, different sizes, and you can fit a lot of clothes in this tiny cube. So I use that a lot. And then I have TSA pre-check too, so I get to the airport all late. And I've spoiled myself because of that. But yeah, so when I'm traveling, I'm usually going for an event or a conference that I'm speaking at. And I'm also that person who goes to a conference and only goes to where I speak. And then I'm y'all don't see me for the rest of the time. They're I thought Luvvie was here. She was.
On the stage.
On the stage. And after that, I'd be gone. In my room to go do more work. Because on travel days, just know those are not work days. And then my inbox explodes. That's a bad thing. I try to keep my inbox under 100 emails.
Okay.
As in 100, my main inbox that I use for work. So I actually have 5 different email addresses. The one you know is based on how important you are. Or how important you are, or if I know you for business or personal. So my friends have one, but business emails, and that's one I prioritize.
How do you balance, now that you're on tour,
yeah,
and you still have your website running, you still have Awesomely Techie, you still have your nonprofit, so how are you managing the day-to-day logistics of running those sites and those organizations with the high level of strategy and planning and the appearances?
So good question. This is where the importance of building your team comes in. So first of all, while I'm on tour and all this stuff, I realized that there's going to be no superwoman stuff happening. I'm not going to be update Awesomely Luvvie every day while I'm doing 5 press interviews every day, while I'm doing Red Pump Project stuff, while I'm doing Awesomely Techie. So here's what I did. The Red Pump Project is my national nonprofit, and we have a team of 7 women who are everywhere. None of us are in the same city. Well, me and my co-founder are in the same city, but we have somebody in Atlanta, somebody in Charlotte, somebody in DC, and yeah. So how I prepared for that was I basically told my team that I am here, but I'm not here. So me and my VP, because I'm the executive director of the Red Pump Project, Karen, who is the co-founder, is VP. We had a long phone call last week where she was all right, what's on your plate that's acute that you need to hand over to me? What is outstanding that you need to finish? And what is coming down the pipeline that we need to keep in mind? So we had that conversation, and I basically gave her what's on my plate. I finished what was outstanding. Didn't finish some of it, Lord knows. Terrible. For Awesomely Techie, I hired a managing editor, and I actually still need to announce who she is, so I'm going to announce it here. So Awesomely Techie now has a managing editor, and her name is Brianna Melissa Ford. Shout out to Brianna. So excited. So she's running the day-to-day for Awesomely Techie now. So she literally just drops in my inbox if she needs anything that's urgent or that is my proprietary information. And my assistant has been prepared and told that she basically has to run my life now. As in, she has to look on my calendar and be hey, your car hasn't been booked. Hey, you're going here. Where's your hotel details? So she has instructions for me that's like, you have to be my second eyes and ears as I'm doing all of this extra. So I've had to learn how to let go of control. That's been the biggest lesson about this whole tour thing and the book thing for me has been, I'm a type A control freak who always has to know all the details. And because I am hyper productive and also can do a lot of things myself, I end up thinking I can do everything myself and burning out because of it. So this has been an exercise in trusting the people around you to hold you up. And I think that's really important.
I read your piece on Medium about, your empire of one and firing yourself from that. Yeah. And I really related to the part where even when you did give someone some type of responsibility and you delegated it and they didn't meet the expectation, you were like, whatever, I'm just going to do it anyway. You didn't hold them accountable. Yeah. Really related to that. But I want you to just talk about that piece and just thinking about the moment that led you to think of yourself, okay, I need to step out of running everything myself. And what first step did you take in order to build your team? You talked about the importance of the team. So, what was that first step?
So how many people here run their own business? How many people here have an assistant? Oh my gosh. See all the hands that went up the first question and the few hands that went up the second. And the second question, you're probably like, well, I know I can't afford an assistant right now, and I'm just trying to figure it out. I couldn't afford an assistant when I got an assistant. So I don't know what made me get to the point to realize I needed one. But for years, I've been running the nonprofit myself. Not myself. I mean, I didn't have a go-to that was like, this is the person who can do very small, tedious tasks for me. I don't need to be the person that is booking our meetings. I don't need to be the person that's making sure everyone got the agenda before the conference call. Because that's not proprietary to my brain. I do not have to be that person. And then for my blog and speaking stuff that I was doing, I was my own speaker's agent. Where people would hit me up and say, hey, why don't you come speak at this conference? How much do you charge? And I'm like, oh. Sometimes I would sit on the email for 3 days just because it exhausted me to even think about the money piece. I was like, and this is money at my feet, and I'm just sitting there because I couldn't deal with the idea of emailing somebody back. So finally, one of my friends was talking to me, and she was like, wait, so you've been doing this whole thing yourself? And I was like, yeah. She was like, no. So she was like, okay, first of all, you need your speaker's agent. And then I was like, well, I've tried to play with one, and he didn't call me back. Fun fact, he called me back last week. After 2 years. Oh, let me tell you that story. Okay, let me tell you that story. One of my friends who runs a company was like, oh, you're doing a lot of the speaking, and he couldn't believe that I was basically being, it was just dropping at my feet. So across the years, over all this time that y'all have been seeing, I've never pitched myself for anything. I've never pitched myself for media. I didn't pitch myself for speaking engagements. It literally just came to me because people were seeing my work. So my friend was like, can you imagine if somebody was actually out there pitching you, how much extra stuff you would get? And he was like, and how much are you charging? And I told him, and he was like, double that right now. And I was like, what? So he introduced me to the speaker's agent. And this speaker's agent is like, he represents a lot of authors and all these dope people. And I had a meeting with him in New York. And the guy was like, yeah, I just want to represent you because you're a guy. I trust his judgment. Didn't call me back. He asked me to do a bunch of stuff. I did all of it. Did not reply to my emails after that. I said, okay. And then one of my friends was like, I need to introduce you to my speaker's agent. And I get on the phone with him. He's like, kind of dope. So he's been representing me for the last 2 years. Last week, I get an email from the old speaker's agent who said, oh my goodness, I heard about your book. You're doing really well. It's doing great. I would love to get on the phone with you and talk about possibly representing you. Sir. Let me tell you how you hustling backwards. Even if I didn't have a speaker's agent now, I'd be like, not you. Because I was like Mike Jones, back then they didn't want me. Now I'm not. They want me. Yes, I'm like, no, sir. So I asked my Facebook friends, should I reply to this? Should I send him that quote? As in the email? They talked me off the ledge, and I sent an email back. But yeah, so I got a speaker's agent, and then I got a manager. So fun fact about being this whole like public figure thing that people do. So getting a publicist is weird. Because you're like, that sounds really fancy. Because when you say like my publicist, it still sounds weird to me. But honestly, you have to have people who are able to represent you when you're not in the room. And their job is to make sure people know about you. Because if you're doing work that's really good, you might be doing it in a silo. Nobody knows. So this book forced me to get a publicist because on my book side, my publishers, of course, like they're not just gonna like throw a book at me and be like, all right, go do something. You have to have people know about it. So it's been really cool to have doors open because of that. But building a team is hard. Like all the type A control freaks in here, yes. Okay, for assistants, here's what your assistant can do for you off the bat. Easy stuff. Manage your calendar. Somebody's like, hey, I want to talk to Luvvie. That person doesn't get to me. My assistant says, hey, here's her calendar. Put yourself on it. My assistant is my bad cop also. Sometimes people will email me and I'll reply to my assistant with no. All I reply to her is with no. And she's like, oh my God, Luvvie, sorry about. She can't do this. She would love to. And really all I said was no, girl. I ain't going to be able to do it. So she becomes the person who's able to tell people and let them down gently. Because here's the thing is, everyone's going to want access to you. And you can't give everyone access. It's just not, because otherwise you're just going to be doing foolishness all day. So it's a process. You have to find a really good assistant who fits your personality. So I'm a night owl. And my assistant is a night owl too. See, imagine she's a morning person. I don't talk in the morning. Sound like Earl, like in the morning. It's terrible. So you have to find somebody who fits your personality, who has the skills that you require. And I might need to get a second assistant now because she can't handle all my stuff now. Because it's gotten to the point where my emails at 150, and that stresses me out. Like I get too many emails, so it's a thing.
Just for those of you who can't afford an actual assistant, I actually use a robot, artificial intelligence assistant.
What?
Yeah. So she just reads my calendar and looks at the open spots. I tell her when I like to have meetings, the places that I like to usually have meetings, and literally will CC her in an email, and she will set it up.
What?
It's called Amy. Amy, it's like Amy.xi, and it's artificial intelligence.
That is.
And people think she's a real person because she replies to people like, hi. So Ranisha says she can do blah, 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 blah. Oh, so sorry. She will follow up with people.
Oh my God. We are in the future. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, so when I first got my assistant, I could not afford her. And I said that. And I was like, look. Actually, I said one day on Twitter, I was just like, I need an assistant, but I can't pay because I'm broke. And people were like, I'll be your assistant. But I was like, okay, I can't do it because I still can't pay y'all. They sent me resumes, but my assistant was like, I really want to do this. I know you can't pay me, it's fine. So like the first 6 months or a year that she worked for me for free. And then the moment I could pay her, I gave her a phone call and I was like, hey, so this is how much you're getting paid from now on. You cool? Cool. And it's a good, decent wage. I still don't give her enough stuff to do. That's my problem. But honestly, here's the thing. If you find somebody who really believes in you, you say to them, look, I can't pay you right now, but I'll need you for 5 hours a week. You know, something, you don't be giving somebody 20 hours a week of work when you can't pay them. But if you're like, I need you for 5 hours a week. And here's the thing. I need you because you can take away 5 hours of work I need to be doing myself so I can grow my business. And if I grow my business, I'll be able to pay you. That's essentially the promise I made my assistant. Was like, I basically need you to take some stuff off my plate so I can actually be able to find money. And it worked. I was able to start paying her. And yeah. So just be honest with people. Be straightforward. Don't be like, I'm going to give you exposure, girl. No. Just say, I need you to donate your time. Just be very transparent. I need you to donate your time to me. I'm going to grow this business, and then we will grow up together and glow up together and do that. Make sure you do that.
Awesomely. Luvvie is still mostly you writing, so how do you balance the brand ambassador work, the digital strategy work, and writing for your site?
My writing process is something is in my head enough, I'm like, okay, fine, I have to write about it. The latest one that I wrote was the Colin Kaepernick one. And I sat on that for 3 days because I was like, I don't have time. But the words like stayed in my head. And when it does that, I won't find peace until I put it down on paper. So I just basically sit down, I'll write up 5 points that I want to make and just turn it into a paragraph. And
like physically writing this or like
no, I actually type. I type. I don't write on paper anymore. I don't write on my phone either. I write on my computer or nothing. Well, I can write on paper, but if my computer is not by me. In my writing process, now I try to find. I write on planes. I write in airports. I'm in Uber, like, ooh. Now pull out my laptop, okay, in the Uber, open that and start writing. And it's gonna, and you know what? I get guilt about not updating my website often now because I'm like, I should still be writing stuff and I have opinions about that. But then in the middle of that, I'll get a phone call and I'll be like, shoot, I can't. So I'm gonna try my darndest to do 1 piece a week this fall on my site because I feel like, as I gallivant, it'll keep me in the loop.
Yeah. And you talked about this, you warned us, not to expect a lot from you in that post that you wrote about before you launched this tour. But you also talked about the cycle of overwhelmedness.
Oh, yeah.
And I really related to that too. So can you talk about that and how you talk yourself out of it? Like how do you pull back from that feeling?
Okay, so being overwhelmed is, I use a lot of apps for my business. So one of the ones I use is Wunderlist. Wunderlist is a to-do list app that syncs across all your devices. So I have my 2 phones, I have iPad, and I have my MacBook. So it syncs between all of it no matter what I'm doing, updating. So I use Wunderlist, and Wunderlist will tell me, it will number it. How many apps and how many things I need to do. And one day, last year actually, before I went on vacation, because I never really go on vacation, I'm always working, it had like 50 things I had to accomplish in 2 days. And it was like writing proposals, updating media kit. So it wasn't like yes or no stuff. And I just sat there like overwhelmed for 2 hours, just looking at it like, okay, how am I going to do this? And I have to get myself out of that by understanding that you have to just look at it as one thing at a time. So I just started knocking it out. Okay, what can I do that's quick? All right, do this first. The cycle of overwhelming, just understanding that there will never be a point where you're not going to have 85,000 things to do. Just being okay with that state. And then also prioritizing and saying, okay, I have 85,000 things to do in an hour. What can I do? That's what happened when I was in my hotel room right now. Because I had, we had just come from NPR and I had an hour and a half to sit in my room and do nothing. And by nothing, I mean not go anywhere. So I was like, okay, I have 85,000 emails to answer. Which ones do I answer? You go to what is most urgent. Honestly, that is just the best thing you could do. Just go to what is most urgent and understand that the world will not burn up because if you drop the ball on everything else. Just know the world will not crumble. And just being okay and being more gentle with yourself. And understanding that you're not Superwoman. I'm not expecting you to be Superwoman. People can't expect you to be Superwoman unless the world is burning and you're probably not a firefighter, so you're not the person to call. So prioritize your work and and just also be transparent with people too and say, I know I had this deadline for you today, but I just could not make it happen. And I've sent emails like that. I sent one on Monday where I was like, listen, I tried to make this happen today, did not work. So give me a second deadline to meet and let me know if that's okay. I think it's really important to just be human in your business and let people know that, you know what, I couldn't do 55,000 things today in 1 hour.
And I think people appreciate that too because then it lets them plan. If they know, okay, she's not going to meet this deadline, if they know ahead of time, it lets them to plan. So yeah, that's very, very important. So you started your blog in August 2006, just 10 years, and you've grown into a community of about 500,000. Mm-hmm. What's been the most effective way or strategy that you've used to build this community and also make it a community? So like you could go in the comment section and people are having civil conversations back and forth with each other. Yes. But like you can't do that on other websites that have like, the same type of following as you. So how have you grown your audience and turned it into a community?
Love Nation regards themselves as cousins, play cousins from afar. And I've built this community because my tone in writing, I'm not writing at you, I'm writing to you. And I think people relate to how I approach topics. Like somebody said something like, I think yesterday, somebody commented and said, I am the next door neighbor who walks in your house and goes to the fridge and gets a can and is like, you want something? And basically that is my writing. Like, hey, we will talk about this because I talk to my friends at brunch. Like those are the exact same things I would say when we're at brunch and we're talking about whatever it is we're talking about. My audience, people say like your audience is a reflection of you, and that's the best compliment ever for me because my audience full of some of the smartest, most thoughtful, most brilliant, funniest, most no behavior having people in blogosphere, and actually on the internet in general. But one thing I do notice is that they do mirror me. They mirror how I approach something. And I test that out sometimes. So I'll have a post where I'll make sure I curse a lot. The comments will curse a lot for those posts. On posts where I don't curse at all, no curse words. If somebody comes in my comment section and drops a comment that's kind of bogus, if I go in on them, everybody else is going in on them. But if I'm kind of gentle about it, people are like, oh, well, let me explain why you're wrong, but I'm not going to drag you by your head. So it's a matter of understanding that this community, they're protective of this space. And they understand that there's very few spaces online where you can go and have really smart conversations, disagree with people, and no hate is thrown across. So even when I'm not there, like, I'll drop a comment sometimes and bounce, and y'all won't see me for 5 hours, and I'll come back to like 500 comments. If there's one hateful comment in there, it's already been handled before I even came back. Because people were like, what you're not going to do is turn this into the den of iniquity. No. So I really appreciate that. And I think it's just a matter of treating your audience like friends and talking to them in a way that you would talk to your friends. And I've done that basically for the last 10 years. And that's why Love Nation is the shit. Yeah.
Let me just do a quick check on the time, because I want you guys to get a chance to ask questions. How many of you have questions to ask Luvvie? Put your hand up so I get a sense. Awesome. Okay, great. So we're going to start questions soon, right after this question. But I want to talk really quickly about failure and risk, and how not everyone is able to just quit everything and launch something. It's pretty much a privilege. And I don't think that we talk about this enough, the fact that being able to be an entrepreneur and work for yourself is a privilege. Yes. And there's certain things like money and responsibilities if you have family to support that come into play. So can you talk about the look that you took before you left and what that was like for you, what went through your mind? How did you plan for it or not plan for it? Because you said you were let go from your job. Yeah. And you spoke about this before too in a piece, so I just wanted us to explore that a little bit more, and then we will jump into questions.
So everyone hears about the leap of faith, and it sounds real sexy. It sounds real sexy. People are like, just take that leap of faith, and your wings will be built on the way down. And I just be like, that sounds insane. But then I jumped out of a plane last year, so don't even listen to me. I went skydiving last year. Yeah, last year I did a lot. I don't even know what I was on. I was high on 30.
You gotta do everything.
I gotta do everything, and I did. It was amazing. But so the leap of faith. And here's where the conversation about the leap of faith is wrong. Because people kind of assume that you have a dream, you go for it, and all will be well. That is not how it goes. And as an adult, most people can't take that I'm going to quit my job today because I'm my dream, because I watched that TED Talk. Here's the thing. A lot of people who were telling you that have the privilege to tell you to take the leap of faith because they had savings accounts that had thousands and thousands of dollars in it. Where if they were to take that leap, they were still 6 months good before they were homeless. Right. And they don't have anybody depending on them for food and shelter. So they know if there was somehow I can't pay my rent, they know they have somewhere else to go. So I always say that, well, I wrote a piece on Medium about this, about before you take your leap of faith, consider these things. One, if you have that dream, I do encourage you to, follow it. Because that's basically, my life is a testament of following your dream. But even then, I fought it. I still fought it. I was like, oh no, ain't nobody making a good living writing. I'm going to be like Tommy from Martin. If you have this dream plan, I'm a Capricorn, so I'm very grounded. I'm super where is my checks coming from? Which is why I was always looking on LinkedIn, but the universe was basically girl, I'm not giving you another job. No. Plan. If it means you have to be really cheap for a year, and you were saving all your coins, and your friends you want to go to lunch, you're like, nope. Before you can quit your job, because you want to have a nest egg. You want to have something that's going to assure that your family's going to be at least okay for 6 months. You can't be quitting your job when you have $300 saved. I'm going to make it work and move to New York with $4. You can't even take a Uber for $4. And you hear the stories of
Metro card.
Oh, Metro card. You hear people who's I just packed my bag and I went to LA and I became an actress who won an Oscar. That's the exception to the rule. So, one, I don't want people to feel guilty that they haven't taken their leap of faith. Don't feel guilty about that. Plan for it. And then when you leap, you won't go crash into the ground. So, yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Luvvie. That was incredible. I could literally sit here and talk to you all day, but I don't want to be selfish. And so if anyone in the audience has questions.
Hi, my name is Nia. My question is whether you ever had, whether you always knew you were going to be in the comedy, activism, tech space when you started, especially when you started writing. And if you didn't know that, then what are some things you can tell people who are writing and just putting themselves out there, but they know that they have multiple hats they want to wear, how they can kind of keep writing and keep putting themselves out there as they figure it out?
I didn't think blogging was anything but a hobby. I didn't think writing was anything but a hobby for me. But I keep understanding that I was missing giant clues along the way. My friend who was the editor-in-chief of the school paper in college, she was the first black editor-in-chief. Talk about Black Girl Magic. Shout out to Amara. She randomly one day was like, you should have a column in the paper. And I was like, what? Why? She's like, you can write. And I was like, okay, I'm not doing nothing. Sure. And every Wednesday on the back of the paper was my column, and people would stop me on campus and be like, I saw your picture on the back of the paper. That was good. I was like, all right, cool. Still did not take it serious. Even after I won the Black Web Blog Awards in 2009 for best humor blog, still didn't think you should probably pay attention to this. I wasn't monetizing my blog. I think it's important to kind of pay attention to your gifts. Don't take them for granted. And in terms of somebody who wants to do this, honestly, the blog has opened up all of the doors for me in that it's been an evolving resume. So people could see that I can write. And if somebody wanted to pass whatever my work was on to somebody else, they know I can just go on this website. So you basically want to set up your own resume. And how you do that is you write. In fact, if you ask me the second question, I forgot what the first question was. It's now repeat the first one. It would be terrible. One, it does not take 11 years to build your brand. Just be clear about that. My brand from now is not that different from what it was 5 years ago. Why? Because it's always been me. And always keep in mind that I hear brand being used kind of weirdly now, and it's a buzzword now. Mm-hmm. At its core, what your brand is not what you're I think about this about myself. And so people say when you're not in the room, it's what people think when they hear your name. So it does not take you 11 years to build your brand. It might take you 11 years to prosper because of it. But, I already forgot the question. What was the question?
The struggle part.
The struggle mode. Oh, man. Honestly, okay, so people always say stuff like, oh my God, you're so humble. And I'm like, no, I'm just not an asshole. I think it's a matter of understanding the space you take up in the room. So also understanding your work, right? I think my work is dope. I do. But I also don't think I need to be Kanye and being like, what? I think it's important to strike the balance because, one, understanding that certain elevation you get is not of your own doing is really important in this. and knowing that, okay, there's a lot of talented writers who are funny, who do not get the opportunities I get. So I'm very much convinced that there's serendipity and God in here somewhere too. That keeps you humble because you're like, this is not of my own doing. Because you've seen really talented people who never go anywhere, right? So it's like, oh, if it's just a meritocracy, cool, then you can be feeling yourself. It's not just that. And then how you can own your stuff. I think being comfortable knowing that you can actually be confident and still be humble. So like I can walk in a room and say, yes, my work is dope. This year I had to give 3 capabilities presentations to PR companies. So what those are is you walk into a PR company, you tell them, this is who I am, this is the work I do, this is why people pay attention to my work. In that moment, you're bigging yourself up, right? And it might sound weird, but when you actually drop facts, and it's not like, yo, I'm the dopest blogger out here. No, you don't say that. You say, I've worked with 15 brands in the last year. This one campaign that I did got 10 million impressions on Twitter. This, I did a blog post that had 50,000 page views in a day. Those are facts. It's not you being like, yo, I'm the dopest. When you drop facts, it's not about like arrogance. It's just what it is. So basically what it means is do dope work that you can actually drop facts about, right? So my media kit, I have numbers to show what the value of my brand is. So like a company wanted me to tweet their show. And I dropped the price that I charge. It's not cheap. And when they came to me, I was like, cool, here's why I charge this number. And I dropped 5 different times when I reached over 5 million impressions on Twitter because of my tweets. And they were like, all right. They didn't argue with me after that. So I think it's really important as you're building this brand to also make sure that your work can stand up for itself and speak up for itself. So you don't have to Kanye. Shades. Oh yeah, second question. She's asking what is Oprah like? Let me tell you. First of all, Oprah is dedicated to this ponytail of hers. Can I tell you?
Once Oprah gets a look, she will wear that look for like 6 months.
Oh, let me tell you. So at the Super Soul 100 brunch that we had in April, so we're all sitting there talking to each other and whatever, and Oprah just like comes in, hey y'all, like super normal. Hey y'all, and Stedman is behind her, and I was like, Stedman is a windbreaker. With a velour suit. I was like, y'all so regular, I love it. Oprah comes in like, hey y'all, how y'all doing? Hey girl. She's super regular, ponytail, glasses on. She is super chill. And then we had the photo shoot after. So they did the Super Soul 100 photo shoot where they had Oprah sit in the middle and basically everybody around her, but they had assigned us like different spaces. So at one point I'm like 5 feet away from Oprah actually. And the photographer is taking the picture. And the photographer goes, Oprah, you gotta slick down your ponytail a little bit. She goes, ain't that what Photoshop is for? Everyone was like, yup. Unbothered, okay? Super unbothered. So, like, she's a giver of no damn. She was like, ain't that what Photoshop is for? Sure is, Oprah. We were like, yeah, girl. So, but when I actually got to really, really interact with her, was... She patted your head. Yes. So when I interviewed... Fuck that. Me and Oprah have been in the room together at least 7 times. Like, I've been to her... so, Oprah Winfrey show was, like, literally 5 blocks away from my high school. Harpo Studios. When I was in college, I ended up getting tickets to her show 2 years in a row on the same day. And every time I went, they would sit me either in row 2 or row 3. I've been to the Oprah show, and I went when I was in 5th grade and saw her. Madness. Forrest Gump, okay? And one time when I went to her show, they put me in the 2nd row in the aisle. And she was walking right by me, and she stops and says, I like your jeans. But she's really cool. Like, in the middle of commercial breaks, Oprah would be like, girl, my feet hurt. And will make them take off her shoes and be like, I'm in flash. Are y'all not going to show my feet, right? Okay, cool. And then when I met her in, when I finally got to interview her in June, they were like, oh yeah, so you're going to interview Oprah first. And I was like, oh, I'm sitting where you are. Oprah's actually here. She walks up. She was like, hey, And I was like, hey, Oprah. And she sits next to me. She does this thing where she kind of puts you in super ease. Like, her spirit is super calm and just like, she's one person who walks in the room and owns it automatically. Not just because she's Oprah, but the way she carries herself, it's with this super quiet confidence that is just really, it just puts you at ease. So when she sat next to me like, yes, I was like, the show was good. She was like, wasn't it? Super regular. And then how she ends up touching my hair is because I was like, oh, you're the character in Greenleaf that you play has this epic hair. And she was like, you know, hair is important. I said, girl, I know. I just cut mine off because at that point I just cut it off 2 months before. I cut it off actually like a week after that Oprah. And I was like, well, I don't need these locks no more. And she goes, so what's going on with you, Luvvie? Became the interviewer at that time because I was supposed to interview her. And I was like, girl, I'm going to a new phase of my life. You know what I mean? I feel like I need a change. She was like, you're moving on up. And I said, yes, I am. And then I flipped it and I was like on TV is. You see what I did there? So afterwards, that's when she stroked my head. And then afterwards, we get up to take pictures. And the whole time, she's stroking my head still. And there's a picture of me and her cackling as she's like stroking my head.
Oh my goodness.
And her hug feels like dreams realized in class. Like, she hugs you with her whole heart. Like, it's like one of those, like, those types of hugs. Man, I was like, I don't even need nothing else. Like, her publicist, I think, was like, she was really into that. Come to find out, Oprah don't be into a lot of people. So I took that as a high compliment. And that I was anointed by Mother O. Okay, so that's what she was like. Yeah.
So much, and I want us to give a real round of applause for Luvvie and her time and everything. So it's not over yet. We're gonna have a setup over here for Luvvie to sign your book.
Y'all got books?
If you haven't got your book yet, we're selling them right there. But if you have yours with you,
Judgy Pop is in the house.
Yeah.
Thank you. And thank you all for coming. I appreciate it. And this was awesome. Thank you.